With the transfer window reopening soon and Arsenal wanting to get their business done early like usual, let's look into what could be the perfect transfer window for Arsenal this summer. We will look at the people that they should sell and, more importantly, the people and positions that they should buy going into this year and how much I expect or want Arsenal to spend. Before we get into it, if you like this video, can you please like and subscribe for any more content around Arsenal and the football world. Now, I have done a lot of videos about who I think Arsenal should sell, so I'm not going to go too much into it in this video. However, I do think we should look to sell quite a few players, and we need to probably sell some academy stars to get some FFP money in. This includes people such as Nelson, Nketiah and Smith Rowe. I think we should all see leave this summer. I think Smith Rowe has a chance to be a potential player for the club, but I'm not sure if we have profiled him right or his role really suits what we're trying to do. I also think people obviously like Ramsdale should be sold. Hasn't played enough this season and we can get some good money for him. And I also think you could see someone like Thomas Partey, who is rumoured to be up on the transfer list, go to Saudi for a bit of money. Also considering I think Arsenal should go out and buy another midfielder anyway. And lastly, the last big player that I could see leaving that I think is relevant, I'm not really going to mention the ones that aren't, is someone like Zinchenko. Now, in my video the other day I said maybe Kivior, and maybe I've been slightly switched because Kivior is a better defender than Zinchenko, and I think Arsenal are more interested in a ball playing left back anyway, which does kind of put Zinchenko out of the team. However, I'm not sure if we're going to sell him or who will be willing to buy him, but he could definitely be an option to be sold. Now, out of all these players, I would expect to sell around 75% of them, but we should expect really to sell all of them if we're not going to play them a lot next season. Obviously, people like Cedric and El Nene are obviously going to leave on freeze. And I think for all these players, we should be asking for around something about £100 million. Now, we have to get better at selling for a club, and I think this plays into a lot of how good this summer could be. If our sales are better, we can buy more players and we can buy better players of that as well. And that is definitely a con of the team and the system that we use right now, is we don't get enough for the sales that we make. And with rumoured reports around Ramsdale going for 15 mil, it looks like it's going to keep up. So we need to make sure we can make the same amount of money as we spent on some of these guys and actually get the value and worth of them, because even sitting on the bench for a bit like someone like Ramsdale, he should be worth more than people like Sanchez went to Chelsea for 25 mil. Now, if you want me to go more in depth into every single one of these, I did make a video a month back about the sales that we should do, but I think it's good to look at the incomings that we can make without these sales happening, and potentially maybe another one if it happens. So I think Arsenal should look at different roles this season. I think we guaranteedly need a number 2 goalkeeper that can compete with Wright in certain situations because Ramsdale is leaving. We need a rotational level left back, someone that can maybe be a little bit versatile around the pitch and can definitely come when we need him to, maybe inverting as well. We need a top tier centre mid where we're going to spend a lot of money on a left centre mid that can progress the ball well and give the ball down the side and make our attack a lot more even. And we also probably need an alternative striker, someone that's a little bit different to what we have up there, who could potentially score goals but also could probably develop into a better player in the future. And I think if we do sell well, getting a rotational wide forward, someone that can play on both wings, could be a very good way of looking at it. But I'm not sure if that's Arsenal's aim right now, but I definitely think we should expect that, and that would be the perfect summer. Now, for every single one of these positions, I'm going to go for a few players that I think Arsenal will be looking at and the person that I would prefer us to sign. But at the end of the day, if we get any of them, it could be good. But I want to make it a little bit realistic and not pick players that are unlikely to sign for the team. Now, first in goal, I think there is majorly 2 candidates, but potentially a third as well. Arsenal want a goalkeeper that is going to predominantly sit on the bench, but can also be a good option if anything was to happen to David Raya. Now, Man City also have this system. They have Ortega in goal, who has come in and been very good, not at the level of passing of Edison, but probably has better shot stopping and is still very good for their system. Now, we know the reason why David Raya plays is because he stops crosses and he is brilliant at catching the balls. So I think one of the main people that Arsenal are going to look at is Justin Bilal from Feyenoord. Now, some of the positives about this guy is that he does do exactly what Raya does. His stops from crosses are very good and have been very good in the Eredivisie, and he is very close to his defence, like him being in the defensive line and playing out from the back with Feyenoord's system. Now, he has had a few injury problems this year and he hasn't started as much as you would want, but at 26 and with Arne Slot leaving Feyenoord, it could definitely be a signing worth making. And at the age of 26, he has definitely been a player that's impressed a lot before. He's played 8 caps for the Netherlands, not in the team right now, but also could potentially get better and could cost around 50 15 mil. Usually goalkeepers out of the Eredivisie don't cost too much, and considering how much he started the last year, you could definitely get him on a cheaper deal, which would help. Now the second option here is someone that can help us in numerous ways, and that is Jason Steele from Brighton. Now this may seem like a weird one on the face of it, but Jason Steele is a very accomplished goalkeeper at Brighton. He pushed Sanchez out of their side when De Zerbi was there and came in with a very good passing system. And per game, he's making a lot of defensive actions, and he is a very comfortable player on the ball. Now he doesn't have the best shot expected penalty saving, he isn't the best at stopping crosses, but you have to look at Brighton's defence being quite poor throughout the season, and he's played about half of their games, playing 17 in the league and 5 in the Europa League, swapping with Verbruggen. Verbruggen's definitely their long-term choice in goalkeeper. They spent a lot of money on him, he's only 19 years old, and at 33, Jason Steele will probably be expected to leave or get shifted out of the team when De Zerbi leaves at the end of this year. And despite him obviously being 33, comes with a lot of experience where he can help the team, and he's also English. He's very good for the homegrown issues that Arsenal want to resolve with their second choice goalkeeper. And this definitely moves into the third option, which has been seen as Woklzbusiness. Now maybe the contract agreements haven't gone well, and this may not be a situation that happened, but he's someone that knows the club, will complete the homegrown thing as well because he grew up at Arsenal, and he is someone that isn't great with the ball, to be honest, but he is a very good shot stopper and could come in when we need it with relevant experience in the Champions League and in Europe. He would not be my first choice, but on a free with his contract ending, you could definitely get him on a cheaper deal, and he could teach a lot, and it would be cool to see Szczesny back after everything we went through with him before, and it'd be a nice turnaround as well to happen. I think the second goalkeeper position is bigger than people think because something could happen to Raya where this person has to play a lot, so I would not be taking any punches with this, and I would be trying to get Bajal, who's 26 years old and can be a good player in there, but obviously finances play a big thing and would definitely have to buy him for a lot more than the other two. But for me, these are the good shouts right now. Next is rotational left back. It's quite clear that Arsenal are looking for a player in this position because I think nketiah doesn't really work as an inverting player, and we're not really sure with Timber's fitness, and I think Timber might play on the right a bit more. There's obviously been links to Hato. I've done so many videos about this guy, but he's very young, only 19 years of age, and has captained Ajax already. He's obviously from Ajax, so he's brilliant at coming into the middle and running with the ball, and has been quite a sure defender back there, making 2 tackles per 90 and about 1.5 block. Now, because of his passing levels, he is very good, and I do think he brings a little bit creative freedom down that left side attacking, can overlap if need to be, and go up in attacking positions. And because of his age, you can still develop him into being a different player already, but after he just signed a new contract with Ajax, it could be a very expensive deal and could cost around 40 to 50 mil considering he is very young. Now it makes sense why Arsenal will want to get him because he wouldn't have to play every game straight away. He would like to sit on the bench as well, and definitely could be a feasible option that Arsenal have been looking at for a while now. And with his versatility in centre back as well, could come in and play in that backup role, which is why I've been a bit wary if nketiah will stay or not, but can always develop behind these players and could be a good option to buy. Now I think this could be a good option because I think we do need someone that can play in different positions, and it does kill 2 birds with 1 stone with a left centre back and left back role. This is why our next person I'm going to speak about is Ferdi Kagaoglu. Now it was rumoured that we had a bid for him this week, and I don't know if that's true or not, but you can see why Arsenal want to sign this guy. If you look at the versatility that this guy offers, he has played in his career around 30 to 40 games in nearly almost every position that there is out there. He predominantly has played left back this season, but the season before he predominantly played as a right winger. And not only is he probably cutting off that left back, I wouldn't say he could play as a centre back. He can also cut off maybe some of our attacking depth as well. He's a very quick player, very good at dribbling and bringing the ball forward. He's got brilliant passes he's making per game in the left back position, and he's actually right footed, so he's good at cutting inside on that left side, but has also showed to be good on the side of his foot, such as the right one, being able to use his left foot to a good standard. Now he's not the tallest guy, he's not the biggest guy, but I think he offers something a bit different, someone that can play nearly everywhere around the pitch, and he has in his career, and he is very skillful and technically good and a brilliant passer. And for around 25 to 30 million pounds, could be one of them sneaky buys that Arsenal got like we did with Tomiyasu and nketiah. Now this could be the cheap option, but if we wanted to go all out and sign a really special left back and spend a lot of money on that position, we could look at Rayan Aït-Nouri at Wolverhampton Wanderers. This guy has been brilliant for a few years now, but really came to his forefront this season as a brilliant left back in Wolves' system, being very good in a 5 back at going forward, but also being quite assured defensively. Now he's not making the most passes a game, but that can be down to Wolves' system. But he's being very good at running past players, making around 2.5 take-ons per 90, and he is raking around 2.6 tackles, so he is getting the ball a lot as well. I really like this player, and I think he's really good going forward and can play on that left wing side and can help with the ball progression, which I think in a more attacking system with more attacking players will make him show a lot better potential. But because he is in the Premier League and he's definitely wanted by a lot of big clubs such as United, also Wonham and Liverpool, he will cost around 50 to 60 mil, which I don't know if we want to be spending that amount of money on a 22-year-old that is going to want to play, but potentially he is on low wages, so could get him for a good deal. Overall, I think probably Hato could be the best option here, but if you want someone that can be versatile in loads of different ways, then you can look at Çalhanoğlu. It depends what sort of direction Arsenal are going to go in. Are they going to get someone that can cover centre back and left back, or someone that can cover left back and left wing, or one of the wing spots? And Çalhanoğlu does mean that we don't necessarily need to go and buy a winger if the sales are all right, but if the sales are better, then we should go get Hato and then another winger instead. Now moving on to what could potentially be the most important signing that Arsenal make this summer is the left centre mid. Of course, we've gone through it loads. The progression to Martinelli hasn't been brilliant, and if you look at how Arsenal have been attacking this year, it's mostly down the right, and we need to make it a little bit more even in my liking. Now this is potentially up there with the Declan Rice. We need to get this right, and then we can finally have a fixed midfield where we could go again next season and probably be a complete team. So we have to make sure this is right, and we have to spend a lot of money, potentially up to 80-90 million on this one position. Of course, that allows us to find players that can fit this category, and the first one is obviously Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle. Now I know this guy won't have the best rep because he was a bit disrespectful to Arsenal when we played them, but he is an exceptional player. He's done the most through balls in the Premier League this season and has also ran the most in the league out of anyone, which is exactly what Arteta wants, especially off the ball. He's a brilliant passer and can really run with the ball to go past midfielders, and is shown to be good at so many different roles in left centre mid or right centre mid for his team, being able to create chances for that side. He's a leader for them, and he could be really good for Arsenal going forward, but also coming back defensively. He is a complete 8 that you will get on the market. Now the problem is Man City want him as well, and his release clause is 100 mil, which Arsenal don't want to pay, which ends in a month's time. So we'll see if City do actually go in for him and end up getting him instead of us. Now I think he would be the perfect option, but there's also other players that we need to look at, and number 2 is going to obviously be João Neves from Benfica. Now this could potentially be another risk because he is only 19 years old, but he is basically the next big wonder kid around the world. He's incredible at running with the ball, at passing the ball off. He's got brilliant technical ability, but he's also a solid defender. He is someone that's probably not going to create anywhere near what Bruno create, but that might be because of his position at Benfica, but he will do a lot more tackles. Now João Neves could potentially play as a 6 as well, but because of his height and physicality, he's not the tallest, he's not the most physical. This might not be the best option just for the Premier League, so him as an 8 can definitely help Rice in a double pivot, and he can move up eventually, even potentially allowing Rice to move into that role that he wants to do a bit more. He's got brilliant defensive stats, and this guy is truly special. But like Bruno, is very good at retaining possession in tight areas and very good under pressure. He's very brave and has a lot of stamina and loves running around, which I think is what we're trying to look for when these players have been linked. And another elite player that I'm going to add to that collection is probably Frankie de Jong. Now I spoke about him a lot, but he is a player that can offer a lot for this team. He's a very impressive passer, one of the best in the world at progressive passes, progressive carry, and just making things tick over in the midfield. He doesn't have the best defensive numbers ever, but can play in an 8 world with Odegaard, but they would have to work very well together, and it might be a bit of time to get them to used to each other. And can predominantly probably play as the 6 maybe. He could definitely be played as an 8 as well, but you could interchange him with Declan Rice within the game. If you want to watch my complete breakdown of him at Arsenal, please go and watch the video that I'm going to link right now. But all these players are going to cost a lot of money for Arsenal. We're looking around 80 to 90 to 100 mil, and I think that's what they're going to have to pay to get someone in their position. Now I think Bruno for me is the one that I would want, but there is players out there that could also be good. While we also could see a different change, we could potentially have Rice as the 8 like he said that he might want to do, and buy someone like Zubimendi, who I've also spoke about before, as the 6. Now I don't think that's really where we should go with it, and I think Rice is better as the 6 long term, but obviously he has shown to be a good option in 8 if we need him to be there, but I just don't want him to start there because I think against Bayern Munich you saw the problems with that arose. Now realistically it'd be interesting to see where Arsenal go with this position, because a lot of ways we can. I want one of these 3 players more than anyone else, I think, because I think there would be elite in our sides, but there is still risks there, especially with the youngster João Neves. There's also younger and cheaper options you can look at, like João Gomez at Wolves, who I spoke about, or you can also look at people like Onana for Everton, maybe a little bit more defensive, very good at duel winning. It depends what you want and depends where you want Rice to fit. I want Rice as the 6, but we'll see what Arteta moves and does going forward. Next, it's probably the most spoke about position in the whole team is the striker position. Of course, Havertz has found a lot of form playing there throughout the end of the season, and I definitely think there is a spot for him there in the future. Maybe his finishing isn't as good enough as you would want, and I think that's fair, but I don't know if there's many players that we could bring in that can help. This is why I think we need a developmental striker, someone that is good enough now to come into games, but not someone that's going to start every single game in the team. This is why, for me, I've said it a lot, my favourite 2 players is Joshua Zirkzee and Benjamin Sesko. Now, Joshua Zirkzee is very much a facilitator, very much like Havertz, likes finding space on the pitch, and will come deep to link up play, and has got a brilliant dribbling ability. Unlike Havertz, he's actually much better on the ball and actually makes a lot more tackles and defensive work in a game. He's a very unique profile, which I don't think you're going to see a lot of. He isn't an out-and-out goal scorer and hasn't scored a lot of goals this year, and maybe could have problems in the Premier League if he ain't doing it in the Serie A. But I definitely think we'd see a lot better performances out of people like Martinelli and Saka, or at least more goals. They will be able to get into better positions with him bringing people away and dragging movements and players away from where they want to be. The sort of same thing is with Sesko. Now, Sesko is a bit versatile. He can play on the left as well, which I think is what we want. At 6'5", he can be a brilliant option in the air, maybe later on in games as a plan B option. More importantly though, that doesn't mean he's bad on his feet. He's got brilliant dribbling ability, and I think he's the closest player to Isak if we can't get Isak, which I don't think we can, on the market. Very good dribbler, very young, and has the potential to score a lot of goals, which he has in the latter part of the season for Leipzig. But I also think both of these players' defensive work is very good and will help us, because I think having someone like a defensive work striker will mean that people like Saka don't have to do as much, and I think it will still keep the team quite clean and better overall. Both of these strikers will also cost around 40 to 50 mil with release clauses, and they've got a lot of potential to improve and develop into different players if Arteta wants them to. I don't think strikers are our main issue right now, because I think it is more the midfield, but I still think we should probably get some depth in there just in case, because I don't know about Jesus' injury record and if he's going to be able to stay fit all year. Now, of course, there's another player, Victor Goalkeeper, who I will want to look at. Obviously, he is a brilliant link-up player as well and can help, and he has scored and assisted more goals than the 2 players I've spoke about in tenfold and has a lot more experience. But that means he's also a lot more expensive, and for around 80 to 90 to even 100 million pounds for Goalkeeper, I do not think it's worth it. This guy was playing in the Championship a year ago, and for us to spend that amount of money on a player that has basically had one amazing season at the top level, very uncharacteristic for Arsenal. I don't think we should make that move either, because I think I have question marks on how he would do in our system. I don't think he's necessarily going to put up the defensive work which we need, but attacking wise he is astonishing this year, and I will never doubt that. I just think maybe the money's too much, and if we're going to spend a lot of money on the left centre mid, we've got to be smart in these positions, and I think overall that would probably be the best way we can go about it. There's also players like Jimenez from Feyenoord, but these players are more natural goal scorers such as Victor Osimhen. They're going to cost a lot and they're natural goal scorers, and I think we need more team players than a goal scorer up front necessarily, because we almost won the league yet again without one. Now overall, I think the perfect striker Arsenal should buy is Isak, but I don't think we're going to be able to get him, especially if we want to try and get Bruno Guimaraes, which I think is more important anyway for our team. So I think realistically Zirkzee or Sesko would be a great window to have if we were able to get one of them in for the price quoted at 40 to 50 mil. If you want to see my videos about either of them, please go and watch them, because I go into in-depthly how they would fit into the system a little bit more. Lastly, we've got to look at the wingers a little bit. Now I think this kind of depends on sales, and yet again I don't think it's a main issue for us, which I know is annoying because we should have bought one for these years. But if we can maybe get Çalhanoğlu, who I said earlier, he could definitely back up in that right wing for Saka. Also someone like Sesko could back up in one of the wing positions, and you could try and use Vieira to actually fit in them roles like we've done for years now. Now I think people like Pedro Neto, if he can sort his injury issues out, a progressive runner could be really good to get, or someone like Nico Williams would definitely be the dream. But at the prices 50 to 60 mil that they want and how much we're actually going to get from the sales, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to buy them this summer and then maybe a next summer thing again. Now there's also players like Frimpong, which I think would be a good option, who I think would predominantly play as a winger more than a fullback for us. But we need to get someone that's going to sit on the bench and develop, or at least want to come in sometimes, someone that isn't going to necessarily demand too much, and that they can replace Nelson and be there and be better than he would, which obviously wasn't hard this year. So just getting someone that can basically play in a few positions positions would probably be better. So someone maybe like a Sesko who can play on the wings, or Xerxes who could definitely play in other positions up front. I can see us doing a lot more than buying a winger outright. However, I think if Arsenal can address these issues with suitable players, and sometimes maybe you spend a little bit more in some positions and not in others, I think it'll be a perfect window. I think realistically a window of Bajal, Kadioglu, Bruno Guimaraes and Sesko is a very realistic window, and I think that is something that we can definitely be proud of and can say it's up there. Obviously the sales do depend a lot, and if we can get a replacement or a backup for Saka, it's even better. But overall, that is my opinion is how Arsenal can have the perfect window. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think these players are realistic? How much money do you want us to spend, and how much do you think we will spend, and what do you think we need to do, and what places we need to address to have the perfect window? Appreciate you guys as always. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.